first speaker will be Adekunle, Mr. Adekunle Ajiboye, all the way from Hamilton, Ontario in Canada. We would like to hear from you on the environment necessary, what's required, what exactly is needed for entrepreneurship, for tech entrepreneurship to thrive. So I will be handing over to you now to carry on and take us through what you think are the ingredients required for a budding tech ecosystem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Timmy. It's awesome to be with you and all the participants from all around the world gathering for Ilorin Innovation Hub today. Kindly give me access to share my screen. Dino, thanks for joining in. Greetings to Kamaldeen, OO, and all the others. And DJ Keys, I'm still dancing. I still have my dancing shoes on. Trying to share my screen. You just need to make me a co-host or enable screen sharing. And while that's going on, I heard Timmy talking about the position and location of Ilorin and what we're trying to do. It would interest you to know that even though Hewlett Packard was the pioneer Silicon Valley company, and the Silicon Valley grew and became what it is today, there's a migration out of Silicon Valley now into what we call Silicon Hills. And there's a lot of movement of tech companies from California to Texas in the US. And is that the trajectory that we would want to put in place for Ilorin? And is it possible for us to do that? So now we have Silicon Hills. Major companies, Tesla has moved, major companies are moving across to Texas. How does this inspire Ilorin or Kwara State? So today I want to go through a little introduction before Dino comes on and wraps it up. Just give me 1 second. So this is the first in the webinar series for the Hub. We aim to have one every month going forward. And we've got an amazing lineup of how we're going to impact Ilorin, Kwara, and of course, Nigeria. So today we will be talking about innovation-driven entrepreneurship. What are the elements of innovation-driven entrepreneurship? Innovation-driven entrepreneurship in Nigeria, in Ilorin, product and service development, enterprise forwarding, and thereabout. But if you will, I know that we were trying to get to know you better, and we'd like to know your brief background. Why an SME? What type of entity, if you have one? How old is your entity? What stage is it? But you would see I have the word businessman. Everyone in Nigeria understands what a businessman is. Growing up, when you met people and they say, what does your dad do? My dad is a businessman. You know of the businessmen from the Southwest and even from the Southeast. So entrepreneurship has been the DNA of Nigeria from get-go. We called it businessman then, we called it many other things, but it's all one thing. Nigerians have always been very good at finding a pain or a problem and preferring a solution and making money from it. That's what entrepreneurship is. All that has now happened now is that we are now enabling it by technology. We're now dispersing it by technology. We're having that guy that makes a shoe in Aba can get his shoes sold in Italy or in Canada. You know, we're having that collaboration. So we've got people coming in today from Ghana, from the US. We're having people collaborate. For example, Agimatics is in 3 continents, and we have our development teams across those 3 continents collaborating and developing solutions. So in the DNA of Nigeria, it's always been there. It's been called businessman. Now we're calling it entrepreneurship. We're talking about almost the same thing. So if we want to look at Nigeria, I'd say we should do a PEST, a political, economic, social, and technology overview of the landscape. We all know where Nigeria is in terms of GDP, in terms of quality of standard of living. I would not bore you with those statistics. But what's different about Kwara? Why should we pay attention to Ilorin? Keep in mind they're what we call in the North Central. It's got an airport. The cost of living is quite, a bit more affordable compared to other bigger cities. It's easily connected to other parts of the country. If the right infrastructure is placed in there, we could have a diversion or a shift. And then we could have people talking about, oh, the same way we moved techies from California to Texas, we can move them from Lagos to Kwara. If we're looking at this angle, what are the demographics of Kwara? The residents, the industries there, the tastes and preferences, the educational sector, all of this would influence what we want to try and produce out of Kwara and Ilorin. A little bit about SMEs in Canada. In Canada, the Canadian economy relies on SMEs. We define them as a company with less than 500 employees. As a matter of fact, I would define them with companies that have between 1 to 99 employees. And they represent 54% of our payroll. And they employ 8 million Canadians out of a population of 34 million. As a matter of fact, you can figure out what the economy, how good the economy is by just looking at the drive-thru of a Tim Hortons. This is where you buy your coffee every morning. You can have an idea of what the economy looks like by looking at the foot traffic in the stores. SMEs are critical, not only to Canada, but to major economies worldwide. And so, and they're supported in many ways at the federal level, at the provincial level, at the city level, to ensure that they continue to contribute to the Canadian economy. They generate a large part of our research, development, and exports. And I believe that same thing can be done for Nigeria. So, entrepreneurship. We've all heard that. What are we talking about? I want to distinguish between SMEs and innovation-driven entrepreneurship. So for SMEs, the time to bring them up is quite small. Their growth is linear. Think arithmetic progression. The investment required is not much. What are this kind of, they operate in regional markets. So think of the guy who's selling kunu somewhere near a mosque in Ilorin. Think of that dry cleaner, I wonder where we'll put DJ Keys now, because she's there in Ilorin, but everyone around the world has seen her doing her trade. Think of the dry cleaner, think of the chemist, that sells those drugs. The chemists have even become doctors, by the way, in Nigeria. Think of the butcher, these are all SMEs. Okay, they're supposed to be supported by SMEDAN, as a matter of fact. So we're not necessarily pushing SMEs. We're not looking for the best next dry cleaning group. No. What we're liking to do in Ilorin, in Kwara, are what we call innovation-driven entrepreneurship. This will be producing solutions for export. They would have a competitive advantage at the core. They will be dependent on intellectual property and trade secrets. They would require a long time of gestation. That's where Dino comes in, where we come in with incubator and accelerator. Their growth will be exponential. Think of what we've heard about Paystack, and a lot of investment is required. Okay, so think about this. Instagram added a staff role of 12 when they were acquired for $1 billion by Facebook. That's exponential growth. And see what Instagram has become today. Look at where Paystack is going now. They're going to begin to dominate payments in Africa. That's exponential growth. So we are looking at IDE for Ilorin, for Kwara, and for Nigeria as a whole. For IDEs, we're saying that these jobs do not necessarily have to be performed locally. Your developers can be anywhere around the world contributing to the source code and to the team. And we want to actually have a lot of this coming out of Ilorin. So what Kamaldeen is doing should be commended and be supported. A little more about that. SMEs, I did say they're a significant indicator of Canada's economic vitality. We do know that also in Nigeria, that small businesses also give us an idea of what's going on. Although in Nigeria, the government is the largest employer and the largest driver of the economy, and we should try and reverse that. And it's actions like this that can make that happen. What are the hallmarks of an entrepreneur? So if you look at Kamaldeen's DNA or Dino's DNA or even Temi's DNA, like they see an opportunity, that's it. Wearing the glasses or not wearing the glasses, they see an opportunity and they marshal resources towards exploiting that opportunity and making a margin or a profit from that. What are their characteristics? I'm quite sure in Nigeria, they're most likely going to be more under 30 because we have a large youth population. They will most likely have some college degree because we have a lot of people who are educated. Their parents would have owned businesses. So all of these characteristics will influence or is influencing our current crop of entrepreneurs. So the baseline, I'm talking IDE, we're talking technology-driven enterprises, we're talking about enterprises and investments and products and solutions that will have a huge economic impact. Keeping in mind that technology and business now, they have no boundaries, and now into the future, there'll be many dispersed, dominant players, and there's a huge opportunity for Nigeria and a bigger opportunity for Kwara and Ilorin to stake a claim and be a dominant player. I want you to pay attention to the fact that we've moved from the resource endowment era, even though Nigeria is still in that era, in terms of dependent on oil and mineral resources. These are industries that required a lot of capital, a lot of investment. They were autocratic in their means of being run. And we've moved from there into the industrial era. And now we're in the knowledge-based era. Nigeria is still in the resource endowment era. Now, Canada, who actually is a larger exporter of oil than Nigeria, has succeeded in moving towards a knowledge-based era, even though the resources are still a dominant part of the economy. So Nigeria can learn from that and pivot. And in doing that, we can see that we can position Kwara and the Ilorin Innovation Hub, to play a dominant, influential role in that aspect. In this new economy, we're saying that knowledge and skilled workers are replacing equipment and assembly line workers. And if you do look at it, Nigeria cannot compete anymore now in producing heavy industries. We just won't get there. Not in steel, not in automobile, not in equipment, not in mechanical equipment. We won't. So the only way we can stake a claim or make a big progress is to look at innovation-driven entrepreneurship. And that's where places like Ilorin Innovation Hub come to play. So what are some of the challenges we do know that you're facing? We do know that the cost of input, which is an external factor you can't control. The fluctuation in demand, you can't control that. The increasing competition, if you're so good, they'll compete. The government regulations, we've got no influence over that. The shortage of labor and obtaining financing, which is one of the major factors hindering our entrepreneurs in Nigeria. But internally, what can you do that you can control? Recruiting and training your employees, maintaining sufficient cash flow, managing debt level, monitoring business relations, and informing yourself about your market. And you would notice that most of the challenges which are internal are part of the things that the Ilorin Innovation Hub will be helping our participants with going forward. So we've heard a lot about innovation. We've heard a lot about disruption. I just want to take a minute or two to talk about what we mean by these keywords. So I just give you an analogy, and I'll ask you, you can put this in the chat box. You can tell me of an innovation or disruption you can think of in Nigeria. If you look about 20 years ago, I was in New York, and I had my Blockbuster membership. And I would rush to Blockbuster on a Thursday or a Friday to get the latest movie in the VHS cassette And I had to drop it in the box by Monday before 8 o'clock. Else I'll be charged a late fee. And then here came Netflix. Netflix says, listen, I'll send you the CDs by mail. You can watch it for as long as you want and send it back. And oh, by the way, I'm paying for the return. Now, Netflix was actually moving towards streaming, but they needed to gather data and understand viewing habits. So Netflix did the mailing at a loss, but they now understood what Americans wanted to watch and listen to. And voila, by the time broadband became more affordable and the speeds were up, they started distributing over the internet. And you can know where Netflix is today. That's a clear disruption. And Blockbuster was asleep when that was taking place. Yeah, in Canada, BlackBerry invented the smartphone. And BlackBerry just sat on the fact that, listen, I have made everybody, they can see their emails on their phone. That's good enough for us. We're not doing anything more. And here comes Steve Jobs, says, listen, I'll let you play a game on the phone. I'll let you listen to your music. Oh, by the way, I'll put a camera on the phone. And that did not capture the attention of Nokia or BlackBerry or even Kodak. And we all know where those companies are today. One that the jury is still out on is for books, hard copy books. We all thought that they would be displaced by e-books and reading on the Kindle and all of that. And I think there's still a 50-50 split between some people. For example, I like to hold my Bible, I'm not read it electronically. There's some books I like to read by holding the book. There's some I would do by electronics if I wanted to make annotations. But we're beginning to see that there's a thin line between disruption when it comes to books. So I want to believe that you have an idea or you get it where we're saying, what is a disruption? Who is a disruptor? What is innovation? It gives you a better understanding of that. And I'm sure there must be some examples in the chat that Temi can share with us later on. So as I wrap up, what is the Ilorin Innovation Hub all about? Well, we are just about to begin to develop the ecosystem. In developing this ecosystem, we would nurture talent. We will enable funding. We would work with the government to create ID enabling infrastructure. We do have a governor and a government who is favorably disposed to this. That's a plus. We have a good location. What are we bringing to the table at Gymatics? We're bringing resources, we're bringing relationships, we're bringing partnerships, we're bringing expertise, and we're bringing exposure. And as we go on in the near future, I will begin to delve into more in-depth topics in our webinars. Thanks for listening to me, and over to Temi.
Thank you, Adekunle.
Thank you very much. I had to reclaim myself as the host. I don't know how I had to give up my host rights, but I've taken it back now. That was brief. I actually wish that could go on a bit longer because I know there's a lot of people here who have started to learn some things. But I mean, in summary, I think we can all understand what we've heard. There's a very big difference between somebody selling food in a restaurant and somebody who has a food delivery service. So one is a small business, one is an innovation, driven enterprise, which is an IDE. And I think that's what we're all trying to drive and create here. We're trying to see how we can foster and boost the development of more IDEs. Instead of just having the regular traditional business models, why don't we just have a way of bringing technology into some of these old ideas and revamping them? We've had several examples of how some companies like Blockbuster, BlackBerry, they went to sleep, and some other companies just came and took up their markets, and we don't even hear about BlackBerry anymore these days. I don't think anybody really uses a BlackBerry anymore. Yes, thank you very much for that. Real quick, I think